As we have solved absolute value inequalities, we will also treat the quadratic inequalities by first solving the equation and then trying to use that value from there. Okay, so I'm going to write first the equation corresponding to this. So we replace the inequality by equality. Subtracted 5x so that everything is on one side. That's how you solve a quadratic equation, right? And also, I don't like having negatives in front of x squared, so I'm going to multiply by -1 so that everything's, not everything, but this -2 becomes positive 2x squared. This will also flip its sign, and this will now become negative because I multiply by -1. Now we have the quadratic formula, which is negative of b plus minus square root of b squared, which is 25, minus 4 times 2 times -3 over twice of the denominator. And that's -5 plus minus. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. Minus minus is plus. 25 plus 24 is 49. And that's the square of the 49 is 7. So we have -5 plus or minus 7. And that means when you add 7, that's positive 2 over 4. Or -5 minus 7, that's -12 over 4. This is 1/2. And -12 divided by 4 is -3. So we have the two solutions, 1/2 and -3, but that's not what the question is asking. It's asking you to solve this inequality. So let's put that on the number line. Let's say this is 0 and positive 1/2. Here's positive 1/2 and -3, 1, 2, 3, that's -3. So these are the important points, 1/2 and -3. And those are the points when this entire thing is equal to self, and it divides the entire number line into 3 pieces. There's the first interval, second interval, and third interval. And just like how you sample water in a water treatment facility to test the entire body of water, you do the exact same thing here. You pick test points. So pick a number that's small enough so that it's easy to compute. So I'm going to choose 0. 0 is my favorite number to plug in. That's so easy. And right after 1/2, there's 1. So for this entire interval, I'm just thinking of 1 as my test point. And here, I guess -4, it's kind of big, but we don't have a choice. We need to find something in here. Oh, you know what? Sometimes it's easier to do multiples of 10. So let's choose -10. That could also work. So first, if I plug in -10, -10 squared is positive 100. Positive 100 times -2, that's -200. So this is when x is -10. And then plus 3. And on this side, if I multiply -10, that's -50. Now, question is it true that -197 is bigger than -50? And the answer is no, because this is left of -50, so that's no good. So we just figured out that -10 doesn't work, so this entire interval is no good. Let's plug in 0. If I plug in 0, 0, that you just have 3 on the left side and 0 on the right side. Indeed, 3 is bigger than 0, so that's good. So this interval is good. And then finally, if you plug in 1, you get x equal to 1. You get -2 plus 3 bigger than 5. And you're saying that is 1 bigger than 5? And that's a no-no. So that can't be. So this is no good. And therefore, we know that the only answer is here. And I should have said this before I did this. Whenever you have a strict inequality, the bounds are open circles. If this had the equal sign in there, then I would be drawing a closed circle. So on the number line, the actual solution's -3, 1/2, and everything between. So that's how you draw your solution. In terms of the interval notation, it's the open interval from -3 to 1/2. And in terms of inequality, it's between -3 and 1/2. Now, this is two inequalities written at once. It's really saying x is greater than -3 and x is less than 1/2. So such an inequality is called a compound inequality. We're going to be using that a little later. And one more additional thing I want to say is that note in a quadratic inequality, it's either always no good, yes, and no good, or yes, no good, and yes. If the shortcut is to just test something in the middle. If the 0 worked and I knew this, then I would immediately know that the other two wouldn't work. So that's a shortcut. The reason for this is because that the quadratic equation has the graph of a parabola. So sometimes if it's of this shape and you're looking for something bigger, then these two left and right sides are the correct answers. And if it's upside down, then these two are no good, but this should be good. Okay, that explanation wasn't so clear, but I mean there's a reason for that. Okay, so that's a shortcut that you may use.